Well, Lynn Short, thank you so much for taking the time. You are on the road out at Skywalker Ranch. Say hi to Luke for me when you're out there.
I
Um,
will.
and watch out for his lightsaber. So I appreciate you doing this from your iPhone. You've had a very very interesting marketing career, and I know my readers are interested in hearing your thoughts on a number of issues. So you were the CMO at Charles Schwab when that whole industry was being completely revolutionized and it was going online. And then you went to AOL where you headed up brand, and also at a time when that was a very turbulent time, but one of the keynote brands on the internet. What are a lot's changed. What are the experiences that you take to the startups that you advise now? What are the things that remain relevant, even though there's been a number of changes in the market?
What we're focusing on now are kind of re-disrupting categories that moved early online, but have been in some ways freeze-dried since then. My history had been always with challenger brands back in the credit card days, and then with MCI in the phone business during the phone wars. I did Friends and Family for MCI, which really changed that industry. And then with Schwab, who was just a small discount broker when I joined them, and we rose to owning dominant market share in three categories in brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always liked the underdog who changes the what's kind of embedded in a category to really to the advantage of the consumer. And so we're focusing now on some search products, one in automotive and another in just general search, where we think there's a long way to go. I think it's kind of rabbit ear television, even though we're all impressed with what's going on with the internet. I think it's black and white in just a couple of channels.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look back and feel that way. So that's what
Yep.
we're focused on.
Oh, absolutely. I sit at the dinner table and tell my children about my 5 stations that I could pick up on TV, and I'm
Right.
sure they will have a similarly, ghastly story to tell their children about the internet today. No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Yeah. So that's our belief, and I've seen it happen over and over again, and especially in these categories where people just felt like, wow, they're too big and nothing will ever change, and guess what? It changes completely, and that's been the theme in my lifetime, and I think it'll just accelerate from here.
Yep.
So
Well, I
I'm an
know.
optimist.
Yeah, you got to be an optimist as an entrepreneur. So I know you're involved in ExoClicks as in one of the companies, and that's audience-driven social search. I'm curious to know what attracted you to that specific venture, and then in a more generic sense, what are some of the things you look for when you're vetting an opportunity as an advisor?
Yeah, that one in particular, it was my feeling that so much power had ended up in that one Google search box.
Mm-hmm.
And it struck me one day that, essentially, I know this isn't completely true, but, 350 million Americans enter the same long string search term and they get, pretty much the same results. And that just can't last, right? Because we're very diverse. And when I enter Rome Hotel, that's a very different query than when my partner Sergey enters Rome Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to stay in the hotel he's going to, and he's not going to stay the one I'm going to, So I just felt like there was, great room for improvement in terms um, creating a connection between the results and, the audience, and frankly, putting the control back in the hand of the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sort of beat this television analogy, but basically Google's a TV without a remote control. I mean, they're in control,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we don't have, we can't really sort of control the results. They're doing a lot of things behind the scenes that I'm sure would shock us all if we knew everything. Uh, and I'm an old guy, so I remember the '60s when we didn't trust authority, and I'm amazed at how trusting people are of that. Anyway, so our focus has been, letting the consumer take control of their search through their own embedded associations, either through their friends. And some people have made, some inroads into social search. We've taken a very different approach.
Mm-hmm.
So, you asked what I look for. I think at its core, the simple big opportunity of putting control in the consumer's hands, and the fact that so much power was, consolidated in one place just kind of smells to me like an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And, on the other hand, you're always sort of David up against these big Goliaths, but I've seen it work over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. No company's too big to be defeated, or to certainly have some chinks taken out of their armor. So in your career, philanthropy has always been a part. Of your DNA. I'm going all the way back to NWA, and of course with Product Red. What advice for a lot of the young entrepreneurs that I work with? They want to give back, but they don't have the time or the money because they're early in their careers. Do you have any advice for folks that are in that situation?
Yeah, with Red, Africa wasn't my cause. It was Bono's cause,
right?
And Bobby Driver's cause. But I found a opportunity to take some unique skills that I had, and to apply them to that model.
Right.
And obviously, I thought about things, and if I was going to, I invested 2 years of my life into that. I thought about the issue, and I became very committed to providing ARV relief to Africans with AIDS, and for a lot of fundamental reasons. So it became my cause, but really the most important thing that people can give, I think, are their talents and innovation. So if an entrepreneur, really that's probably the most valuable currency. I had some contact with Steve Jobs in the whole Red process. He's a buddy of Bono's. And so Bono said to me one time, well, okay, I understand your plan, but I want a friend of mine who's a marketing guy to vet your plan. I said, oh, who's that? He said, Steve Jobs.
Nice.
Said, oh, boy. Yeah, here we go. That'll be the end of this, and actually Steve was amazingly helpful and supportive. And I read something recently that a journalist friend of mine sent about his own philanthropic endeavors. And, he was focusing on bringing talent. I really think talent is the most valuable currency, and at least in that case, it was. Reds raised or earned, really not raised. It wasn't a fundraising effort. It was a for-profit endeavor. The profits just go to Africans, not to anybody else. So
right.
It's made and distributed 180 million in profits that have all gone through the Global Fund to buy ARVs, and so it. So I think look at your talents and see what they can lend.
Yep.
And later on give your money away.
Yeah, exactly. When you have something to give, right?
Right.
So if Bono approached you today, given that it is, I guess 5 or 6 years later,
I'd run. I thought I was going to.
Exactly.
I said I would run because I thought I was going to spend 3 months on that thing, and it ended up being 2 years. No, I mean he's. I'm sorry. I'll let you.
No. So if you didn't run, what is there? You think about all. I mean, that was a hugely effective campaign from a marketing standpoint. What is there something that you kind of regret, or is there something you would do differently, kind of now that you're on the other side of it, other than not spend 2 years on it?
Yeah, no, I joke. I actually, it's the most gratifying thing I've done. I think we started out with what Bobby used to say, just hard-nosed approach to the cause. And I think the only thing in retrospect is that I'd stay very committed to that. As I said, Red was a different model. It was for profit.
Mm-hmm.
We were asking people not to sort of, make a donation, but really buy what they wanted to buy, and just sort of redirecting where the profits went of that,
Mm-hmm.
And adding enough value to the makers of those products so that, that could be a sustainable proposition.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the one hope that if I did it again, I'd be even more adamant about staffing it and creating a culture of relentless, hard-nosed focus on creating results.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that goes for pretty much every enterprise, and certainly a cause should have the same hard-nosed approach that business does. Mm-hmm. That was our going-in proposition.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just one last question. So, Bono was one of the most notable members of that team, but there was a lot of celebrities that got behind that effort. I'm in Southern California, and a number of the ventures that get run by us at Rincon Venture Partners, they have a celebrity element. Either there's a celebrity that's an investor, or they're a partner, or they want to get involved. And we look at that as a bit of a double-edged sword as an investor, because there's obviously a lot of good that can come with it, and there's some potential downside. Again, what would you advise a young entrepreneur that's in that situation where they have a celebrity who's interested? How can they maximize and really manage that relationship with a high-profile person?
Yeah, celebrities are tricky, and I've done a lot of celebrity advertising in my time, and I was always very suspicious of it because you borrowed equity is not always the right thing to do. But
Right.
I can't say I've been pure on that myself. I think it's borrowed equity. I think essentially, a successful entrepreneur will always be very purely driven by a vision. They won't let distractions or sort of shortcuts just distract them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very easy to talk yourself into, oh, so and so's interested and that'll help me, and
Yep.
I'm not sure it ever does, unless there's just a natural connection.
Yep.
So I think the same rule applies. That borrowed equity isn't yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. There was one particular entrepreneur who I thought was very solid, but he really turned me off when he went on and on about the fact that Lady Gaga might get involved. And it was a venture that, she's a wonderful person and quite the celebrity, but I'm not sure she would bring much to that other than her money and her notoriety. But he really spent too much time on that point. If it had been one bullet point on a slide and he had moved on, it would have been okay. But he just went on and on about how impressed he was with himself that he was able to get her attention. So there's definitely a pitfall with it.
I'm not sure. I can't really think of a great case history where a celebrity has really driven a startup. I know Ashton Kutcher has some, rap about stuff he's involved with, but I don't know that there's a great case history other than Red. I mean, Bono's. I wouldn't call him a celebrity. He's a force of nature.
Right.
But I can't think of a good case for it.
Well, Oprah's certainly done some great things. And Ashton, to his credit, in the SoCal community, he's got a good reputation as being a value add to the team. I think that's the exception with those guys in general.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, we don't have any celebrities involved in the stuff we're doing.
Good for you. Well, Len, I mean, you're working me in here while you're on the road off your iPhone, so I'm very appreciative of your time, and I know there's a lot of good advice here for my readers, so I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks, John. I appreciate it, and I look forward to catching up with you later.
All right, we'll be in touch. Take care, Len.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.